Just listen.
Hello everybody and welcome to Macro Talk 2. It is Thursday, almost the last day of October. I think there's one other day to go. Nice crystal back there. Okay, so today we're doing something altogether different. But before that, let me remind you our competition ends at midnight tomorrow. And the challenge this month was product photography. So if you haven't done so, take a product picture and put it in the Walls app. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, put it in my app, and yeah, we'll be judging you this weekend. Graham and I are going to be doing that together, so you can expect to see the results sometime early next week. I will also announce the competition for next month as soon as I decide what it's going to be. I need to think about it. Saturday, after Stack, what's new in Photoshop? That's going to be with Bud and I at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the invitation is over on my website. It's on Discord. Everywhere you're likely to go, you'll find it. Today we're doing a contest. It's going to be fun because I wanted to do something fun before I drop into that deep depression that I get every time the clocks get messed with, like is happening this weekend. And the next time you see me after Saturday anyway, I'll be miserable, because the days will be very short here. Not looking forward to that at all. But today, happy days. We're going to do a contest. It's a very much an honor system contest, which is the best way to do it, I think. We don't need any rules. And this is how it's going to go. I've got 50 questions for you. They're all about macro, pretty much all about macro. All you have to do is answer them. As I give you the question, you answer them, and then you keep track of how many you get right. And there's a bit of nuance in there I'll explain to you. That's why you need a paper and a piece of paper and a pencil, so you can keep track of your score. Now, the questions start out pretty easy, but they get pretty hard. And I'm also going to use a handicapping system. If you consider yourself a beginner, if you have just come to macro photography, if this is your first ever live stream, something like that, if you're just checking the waters out, you're a beginner, and you get 20 points right off the bat for free. Write it down. You can write down you've already got 20 points. If you consider yourself an intermediate, meaning you've been doing macro photography for a while, but you know you've still got loads you've got to learn, and you don't think you're hot stuff yet, you get 10 points. Write that down. 10 points for free. If you're an expert, and you are taking lovely pictures and you know what you're doing and you've been doing it for a while, no points. None whatsoever. So all that work you did was for nothing. And that's how the handicapping is going to go. Obviously, you have to decide what you are and be honest if you want to be. Don't if you don't. I guess nobody's going to come check you. But here's what we'll do. I'll ask the questions. I'll give you a few seconds to answer. I was going to have some irritating music to play, but I thought we'd already had a lot of irritating music before we started, and if I did that, there'd be 50 bits of irritating music in the next hour, and I thought that would be too much for me anyway. So you have a few seconds to answer them, just a few seconds, and then I'm going to give the answer. We only have 2 minutes at the most, 2 minutes to finish each question. So I've got to ask it, then you've got to answer it, and I'll give you the answer. And you don't even have to write the answer down. I mean, you can just know the answer, and then if you get it right, you give yourself the points. Now, you get 2 points if you get the answer absolutely right. If I give the answer and you say, oh, that's exactly what I said, then 2 points. If you get it kind of right, if you think it's mostly right, but, not completely right, give yourself a point. If you get it totally wrong, don't give yourself any points. There are a lot of ways to cheat on this, aren't there? Just don't do it. Add up your score at the end and then put your score in the chat. I'll give you a hint though. If you end up with like 32 points total, don't put your score in the chat. That won't be necessary. Just if you think you might be on the top end of things, and then we'll see who wins and we'll congratulate them if we have time. Fair enough? Okay, let's get going. Question number 1. In macro photography, there are 2 primary ways in which a normal prime lens can be transformed into a very capable macro lens. The first involves reversing the orientation of the lens. What physical property of the camera lens is changed in the second? Okay, there are 2 ways you can change your lens around. One is to turn it backwards. What's the other one that will turn your 50mm lens into a macro lens? Yep, I'm not going to do the what's that television program where they have the irritating song between question and answer? Can't remember, but it would drive me crazy to do that. The answer is excuse me, extension or lens camera separation, moving the lens away from the camera. 2 points if you got that right. If you said I don't know, putting your camera in the oven or something, I'd say no points. So extension. Question number 2, and I'm going to have to be drinking water throughout this thing because I swallowed a gigantic vitamin pill right before we started, and it hasn't gone down yet. So I'm going to be coughing until it does. Which common insect has the largest compound eyes relative to its body size? Relative to its body size. So the insect that's got the biggest eyes for its body size. What do you think? I'll tell you, it's not a ladybird. not a ladybird, not a housefly. You got it? It's a dragonfly. If you got dragonfly, give yourself full points. If you got damselfly, I suppose give yourself a point or half a point. But if you got midge, no points. Number 3. What is the general name for the tiny hair-like structures all over the legs and bodies of some insects? What are the hair-like things on insects called? Any idea? No idea. Setae is the answer. S-E-T-A-E, setae. Why they can't just call them hairs, I don't know. Ask the biologists. It seems like a waste of effort. We're going to have quite a few naming things in this contest today. Number 4. What magnification ratio is most commonly found in a macro lens and often cited as the magnification at which photography becomes macro photography? What magnification ratio? It's not a trick question. You can either give me a number or, 2 numbers. Don't know? I'll tell you. 1-to-1 or life-sized. That's what we generally talk about when we say macro photography. If it's 1-to-1 or greater, it's life-size. If it is smaller than that, 2-to-1 or something, nope, not a macro lens. Okay. 5. What do we call the distance from the front of the lens to the subject at the point where it's in focus? What is that space called? Think about it. We typically talk about this when we're using microscope objectives, but also camera lenses. The space between the end of the lens and the subject, where we put the light. Okay, fair enough. Working distance. If you said anything other than working distance, you're wrong. And 2 points, working distance, well done. Number 6. What technique has been adopted by macro photographers the world over for overcoming the limitations of extremely shallow depth of field, especially encountered at higher magnifications? What is the technique that we use? If you don't know this, you're definitely on the wrong channel. If you're looking for a cooking channel, this isn't it. Though I can tell you how to make good gumbo. I made some gumbo this week. Fantastic. The answer, of course, is focus stacking. If you put something else like stacking or anything like that, macro stacking, that would be fine. Focus stacking is the answer. Number 7, there is a high precision tool. It can either be manually driven or it can be automated, and macro photographers consider it essential for making accurate and repeatable micron level steps during focus stacking. What's this tool called? What is it I just described? High precision, moves your camera. I told you the questions were going to be easy at first. I hear nothing but silence and the air conditioner thing going over there. It's disconcerting. The answer is a focus rail or a macro rail. You knew that. You knew that. So 2 points for macro rail, 2 points for focus rail, 0 points for bread making machine. That would get you no points. Number 8. One of the most common focus stacking artifacts manifests as a zone of light fuzziness that appears around the edges of foreground elements. What is this artifact called? Your picture, you have an element in the front and there is some fuzziness around it. What in the world is that? What do we call it? Correct. Halo. Not hello, halo. Halo is that artifact, one of the most common ones that we see. There are ways that we can defeat it, but it is problematic, certainly when we're starting out. But halo is that most common of artifacts. Number 9. What is the term used to describe a lens that maintains constant magnification regardless of where it is in terms of focusing distance? So you can have your lens nearer or further from the subject, but the magnification doesn't change. What kind of lens does that? You want a clue? Some of the very good long working distance microscope objectives that we use have this feature, or they almost have it. They're very close to having it. Nope. Okay, I'll tell you. Telecentric is the term. It describes a lens that uses parallel rays of light in order to image a subject that does not change in magnification as you move the lens through focus. It makes for very, very accurate focusing, and it's why we love Mitutoyos so much, because they're almost telecentric. Okay, as light passes through an aperture or a hole, its rays are redirected, causing propagation of interference patterns that interact with one another, resulting in images that lack sharpness and contrast. The phenomenon grows more pronounced as the aperture gets smaller. What's the name of this property? What am I describing? Fuzzy pictures as your aperture gets smaller. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, it's real, and now you know what it is. It's interference patterns. What's it called? It's what happens at the other end of the scale from aberrations that we talked about on Tuesday. It's diffraction. It's diffraction, and yeah, it's a bugaboo. It's going to come up again in this contest. Number 11, the hard outer covering on an insect's body is known as its exoskeleton. What is the most abundant material in the insect's exoskeleton? What makes up the exoskeleton? Think about it. Think about it. You want a clue? It has 6 letters. That's not a very helpful clue, is it? The answer is, of course, chitin. My goodness, Art's writing down all the right answers for everybody to see. Chitin. C-H-I-T-I-N. Chitin is the material that the insect's body is made of. Protein stuff. It's tough and durable, and it's going to come up again in this competition. Number 12, insects do not breathe like we do. They don't have little insect lungs. They breathe through passive diffusion, it's called, and they have to have holes in their bodies for the gases to diffuse in. What are those holes called? What does an insect call its holes that it doesn't breathe through? Gas exchange holes. What's the proper name for those things? Clue? Nope, no clue at all for this one. You either know it or you don't. Spiracles. That's what they're called. The holes you see in the sides of insects are spiracles. That's where the air diffuses in, and yeah, it's pretty boring stuff, eh? A compound eye, number 13, is made up of many small ocular units, right? The little hexagonal things. What are they called? What are those optical units called in a compound eye? I will give you a clue to this one. It begins with the letter, no, the third letter is an N. No, it's not, it's an M. That didn't help, did it? Okay. The little eyes inside of a compound eye are called ommatidia. O-M-M, that's how the third one was an M. Ommatidia, that's what the little eyes in the compound eye are. Number 14, many insects appear brightly colored, some with a very metallic finish, but closer inspection fails to reveal any pigment when you look closely and examine them under the microscope, and instead shows semi-transparent scales with a crystalline quality. The colors seem to originate from these crystals. What physical property is being demonstrated in this phenomenon? This is a tricky one, really. It's thin film interference. I'd accept interference. I'd probably accept structural color too. It was a pretty badly written question, to be honest. So if you put bowling, the sport bowling, as your answer, you can't get any points. But otherwise, I think you should get at least one. 15. Photographing wild insects early in the morning is preferred by many field macro photographers for two primary reasons. The first reason is the quality of the light early in the morning. Raking light, warmer light, beautiful to photograph in. What's the other one? What's the other reason? I'll give you a clue. It's got to do with the insects you're going to be shooting. What do you think it is? Why is morning better than, say, mid-afternoon? Well, it's because the insects are still asleep, like I am still asleep at that time in the morning. And they're cold and sluggish and often covered in dewdrops, but mostly they're just not moving, and that's the whole point. Yeah, you go out early enough in the day and you won't find as many insects, but they won't be buzzing around as much. That was a pretty straightforward question, I think. Number 16. What is the primary advantage of using a long focal length macro lens like the new Leica 180? What is the primary advantage of doing that? Why do I carry my 200mm out into the woods? Think about it. Think about it. Don't let me put you off. What do you think happens at a longer focal length? Of course, you get much further separation between you and the subject, because you can take your 200mm lens and stay well back from the bee or the wasp or whatever you're photographing, and still get the framing that you want without upsetting the insect, getting stung, scaring it off, that type of thing. That's the thing, separation from subject. There are other reasons. Using a longer focal length will give you a different kind of photograph. You often get better separation from the background, that type of thing. But I think the primary reason I carry the longer lens is so that I can take the photographs that I would otherwise be unable to get. Okay, 17. What term is used to describe a cluster of little hot spots on the surface of a subject that draw a viewer's attention, obscure detail, and are very difficult to remove in post? Those bright spots, what do we call those? What's that term? I know you know it because I'd use it every time we talk. Nobody? Nobody? Brewster? Specular reflections or specular highlights. That's those things. They frequently will sabotage the picture by drawing the attention of the viewer to that bright spot in the picture. That's what bright spots do. They attract the viewer's attention and they don't see the rest of the image. But they also hide detail. The detail's gone from them, actually. And there are several ways that we can deal with specular highlights, either by avoiding them or by dealing with the reflections using light's polarity and that type of thing. Yeah, that's the issue, that's the term. Number 18, when we reverse a 50mm lens on a camera without adding any extension, just reversing the lens, what is the magnification ratio that will result from the reversed lens? Almost everybody gets this wrong. So I'm probably going to get it wrong too. But what do you think? What do you think the magnification ratio is of a prime lens of 50 reversed with no extension? While you do that. Okay. It is 1:1, pretty much. It's a little bit less than that, but it's close to 1:1. Certainly it's a little bit over 1:1 if you have it on a collapsed bellows. Yeah, it's most people guess that it's higher than that. It's really not. It is if you're using a 35 or a 24mm lens, but at 50mm it's about 1:1. Number 19, when using a Mitutoyo M-Plan apochromatic 10x objective to take pictures at 10x magnification, I would add, the recommended tube lens focal length is what? What is the tube lens focal length for using a Mitutoyo 10x at 10 times magnification? And I stress the at 10x magnification because if you were using it at 5x, then you would need a different focal length tube lens. But we're using it the way it's designed. It's 200 millimeters is the answer. 200 millimeters is the tube lens focal length for that objective because that's how it's set up in the microscope. Number 20, what causes a stacked image to show striped lines at one edge or at the bottom or at the top? You know, that zone of hideous striped lines. What causes that? Something must cause it, and there's something that will get rid of it too. You probably know that if you don't have much of it, but yeah, what causes those stripy lines? It's misalignment or uncorrected misalignment. Now, there are things that you can do in your stacking software to make sure that the alignment is done correctly where that won't happen. But most importantly, there are things that you can do on your rig to make sure that the camera and lens move in an absolutely straight line. And there's another question about that coming up in just a minute. But absolutely, if your camera is moving at all and you're dragging, you're experiencing parallax basically as your outline changes as the camera moves, that can result in areas that the stacking software doesn't know what to do with. It doesn't have consistency between frames, and it will put these lines in rather than just leave it blank. So yeah, it's uncorrected misalignment. Number 21, what is the primary design feature that differentiates an apochromatic microscope objective from an achromat? Not a laundromat, an achromat. What is the primary design feature that you'll find in an apochromatic lens that you won't find in an achromatic lens or achromatic lens? Do you know? You've never designed a microscope objective before. Is that your excuse? It's if you think about what the difference between an apochromat and an achromat is, the achromat is going to correct for two wavelengths of light, basically your reds and your blues, whereas your achromat, your apochromat is also going to get all the light in the middle. So it requires usually 3 additional elements within the lens, a cluster of elements within the lens to correct for the wavelengths of light in the middle. So that's the primary design feature, is they've got more elements in them. I put primary design feature because I didn't want anybody to just write, because they're more expensive, because they are much more expensive. Okay, number 22, extremely large insects, like human-sized, are non-existent. Even just big, non-human-sized insects are very rare. What physical process determines the theoretic limit to insect size? That's a hard one. It's probably got nothing to do with macro photography either, but still, I think you should answer it. Why don't insects get as big as the Empire State Building? I hear some heads being scratched. The primary reason that there is a theoretical limit to how big an insect can get is how efficiently oxygen can diffuse in tissues. Once an insect gets above, the size of one of those hideous things that they have in Africa that are just ginormous, they can't get oxygen to diffuse through those spiracles and into their tissues efficiently enough for them to stay alive. Simple as that. They need oxygen and it has to get in there passively. So until they learn to breathe, thank goodness, insects aren't going to get any bigger than that. Number 23. The parfocal distance of a microscope system is the difference between the mounting plane for the objective and what? What is the other end of that distance? When we call something a parfocal distance, what are we referring to? It's a pretty good question, actually. Parfocality in a microscope system means that we can change the objectives, we can change the magnification, and not have to do anything else. We get the distances remain the same, so when you change the objective, you're still in focus. And what we're measuring when we talk about the parfocal distance is the plane into which the objective screws, right in the nose of the microscope, and the subject, where the subject is in focus. That distance is the parfocal distance. For Mitutoyo based microscopes, the parfocal distance is 90 millimeters, which is a long way. I think it's 90 millimeters, pretty sure it is. And it's a characteristic of the system, not the objective itself. Number 24, when focus stacking at high magnification, the ideal step size is primarily determined by what property of the objective? That's a fair enough question. The objectives all have properties, pages and pages of properties. Which one determines the best step you should be taking using that objective? And for you advanced users, why? Why is this the important number? The answer is, of course, the numeric aperture, the maximum cone of acceptance of light from that objective. The higher than the NA, the shallower the depth of field. The higher the NA, the more resolution you're going to get from the lens. It's like everything else in macro, it's a big trade-off. As your NA goes up and up and up, your depth of field gets compressed, and it is the most important number in deciding what your step length needs to be. In fact, if you use Rick's calculator over on his website, Zerine's website, the numeric aperture, I think, is the only thing you have to select to figure out your step size if you're using microscope objectives. So there you know. Number 25, interesting one. A fly's foot. You know what flies are? They stick to the windows very easily. I mean, even when they're not smashed on the windows, they can stick to it, and their feet will adhere to the glass. They do it because of some adhesive material that gets secreted from their foot, and also by capillary attraction of the hairs in their foot to the glass. But there is another reason that involves a physical property of the foot. What is it? What is the physical phenomenon that allows flies to walk on glass, vertical glass? All right, it's the chewing gum like stuff on their feet, sure, capillary action, sure, but what's the other one? This one, when I learned this some time ago, it really surprised me. It's van der Waals forces. If you're not familiar with them, it's a weak intramolecular attraction between, well, molecules. That's what intramolecular means. But the van der Waals forces would be strong enough for a fly to hold onto a window. Kind of surprised me, but apparently it is. So there you go. That's the answer. Van der Waals. This is why I gave some of you guys as many free points as you wanted at the front, because that was a difficult question. Number 24. A butterfly's scales are complex chitinous plates with very specific microstructures. Amazing microstructures, actually. They're also evolutionarily related to the mechanosensory blank of a fruit fly. So what is the relationship between a butterfly's scales and this mechanosensory thing of a fruit fly, or things of a fruit fly? Terribly, terribly written question. What I was trying to get at was the evolutionary link between fruit flies and butterflies, and what a butterfly's scale actually is. Maybe I should just give you the answer, and then you can say, yeah, that's what you were thinking of. It's the fruit fly's hairs. They have a mechanosensory bristles on their bodies that sense the world around them and also assist in other functions. And that's exactly the same, and it's like an analog of the scales. They both evolutionarily came from the same place. So the scales of butterflies are modified hairs. That's what I'm trying to say. Did you get that? Okay, you can all have 2 points for that. Number 27. There is a tendency of insects to look unusually dead when you light them with direct axial light. When you're using a flash on top of your camera. What is that called? That kind of lighting, the effect that it gives? An axially lit insect corpse that looks really, really dead. Never heard of it? Okay, you can give yourself 2 points for that too. It's called specimen lighting, but it's also known as coroner flash. Yeah, non-flattering coroner pictures. Yeah, forget. Shall we just pretend I didn't ask that? Number 28. Before developing into fruiting bodies, most slime molds exist as a multinucleate but single-celled blob that crawls around. What is that stage of the slime mold's life cycle called? We say it's in its blank stage, like you'd say of a teenager. It's in its difficult stage, or you know what I'm getting at. What would you call that stage of a slime mold when it's crawling around as a gigantic amoeba? Plasmodial stage, or plasmodium. You can have full points for that too. That's what that thing is. It's a plasmodium before it turns into fruiting bodies. Fascinating life story, life cycle. 29. What is the best tool for cleaning hairy insects that are covered in dirt? Bees. Let's make it bees. Best tool for cleaning bees. Trick question. All right, if you said or thought or wrote down clearly hot soapy water, you would be absolutely incorrect. That is not the right answer. That's the wrong answer. Don't wet bees. They're hard to ever get back to normal. Either a soft brush, but preferably a lens blower. That would be the best tool. We'll say lens blower or soft brush, so you get 2 points for either of those. But the way to get, or if you put a filter paper comb like I use, a homemade thing, any of those things are better. Just dry mechanical lifting off of the dirt is the best way to do that. Using anything wet, any solvents, anything like that, bad idea. If you wrote down ultrasound, go to the principal's office. Number 30, the preferred method for collecting insects in close proximity to nesting yellow jackets is blank. What's the best way to collect insects in that particular environment? If you have any answer other than the one I give you for this, I do not want you to come on a field trip with me. The preferred method is not to do it. Don't mess around with yellow jackets' nests. They'll sting you. They always do. I've had to learn that over and over again, but that was a trick question that you can get 2 points for. 31. In insects, the junction between the thorax, that's the chest bit, and the abdomen is often narrowed into a little narrow thing. What's it called? What is the narrow waist of a wasp or an ant called? This is for bonus points. It's not actually, you just get 2 points for this one. The answer, you need a clue, begins with P. In fire ants, it has a spike coming up out of the back of it. It's the petiole. That's what it is, petiole. And yeah, it's a great cocktail party word. Though be careful using it around humans. If they know what petiole is, they might be offended. 32. The fine iridescent glitter that you see on some beetle wings and some flies as well. It's commonly produced by microscopic surface structures that are acting as what? There are structures on the surface of some of these insects' wings that give this glittery appearance. What is it that's doing that? This is a tricky question. I probably would not have got this right myself had I not known the answer when I wrote the question. It's the structures are acting as diffraction gradients, and they're scattering the light. So 33, we're almost there. What is the name for the short, bristly, antenna-like things that stick out of the middle of some flies instead of another pair of wings? What are those things called? They look like little not wishbones, drumsticks sticking out of the thorax. Is it the thorax? Yes, it is the thorax of the fly. What are those things called? Begins with the letter H. Halteres. It is the haltere. It's actually a vestigial wing that they use for counterbalance. They move these things around like little wings to help them keep balanced when they're flying. Number 34. When using a telecentric lens, magnification remains constant even if the subject distance changes, as we talked about. This is due to what principal optical feature? What is this lens taking advantage of that allows it to show this bizarre property? So what's at the heart of telecentrism? It's a bit of a, can you guess what I'm thinking question. The answer is parallel rays. It's taking advantage of collimated rays of light so that it doesn't have that parallax experience that non-telecentric lenses would. Okay, 35. The very thin protective film that cover an insect's eyes and wings and cuticle. Okay, the answer was cuticle. I mistyped that. Yeah, I just blew it. That's what it was. It's the thin covering of the exoskeleton. Yeah, it's called the cuticle. That's the answer. Cuticle. Well done. 2 points. Number 36. When stacking at high magnification, the greatest single limiting factor in depth of field is what? Didn't I just ask you this question? You got it right a minute ago. Yeah, it's NA. It's still NA. Whenever there is a question about a microscope objective, you've got a better than 50-50 chance you're right if you just say NA. Seriously. 37. Insects don't pump blood through their bodies like vertebrates do. Agreed? Instead, their body is filled up with a fluid that kind of sloshes around and circulates among the various organs. What is that fluid called? Blood was already taken, so they had to come up with another name for it, and they could only pick a name beginning with H. So what do you think they chose? Hemolymph. Hemolymph is that liquid that takes the place of blood in insects. Number 38, we're approaching the end. The characteristic fuzzy velvet look of many springtails and mites is caused by extremely dense arrangements of what surface features? What do springtails and mites have on them that make them look velvety when you photograph them? No, I'll tell you. It's the same things that answer to question number 2, I think. It's microseti, not SETI, just microseti. Little tiny hairs. That was a terrible question. When shooting at 10x or higher, the most reliable strategy for minimizing vibration and resonance is to mount the system in what orientation? What's the best way to mount a camera setup at 10x or higher to minimize vibration? You have only 2 things to choose from, because it's not going to be 45 degrees. It's either going to be flat or upright. What is it? Which is best? It's another terrible question. It really would matter on how you mounted it, but if the quality of the mounting was equal, I would say that you are better off mounting it vertically. You'd have less sympathetic resonance vertically than I think you would, because you wouldn't have the overhangs that you have horizontally. So vertical is the right answer. Number 40. What is the term for the scale-like repeating stacked plate structures that create vivid structural color in butterfly wings? Okay, do you want me to repeat that? They're like scales, but they're these plates that interlock together, and they're what give some butterflies their amazing metallic look of their wings. Know it? Know it? Nope. Photonic crystals, or photonic crystals. I think photonic is fine. Yeah, that is the structure that actually is responsible for the color. Much like the photonic-like crystals in some weevils' cuticles. All right, number 41. In high magnification stacking, which vibration source is usually more problematic than camera shutter movement? Well, I don't like that question either. I must have written this one while I was asleep. I was getting at micro drift or subject movement. It's the one that I think causes much more problem than we realize, and is actually more common, because we have ways of mitigating against mirror slap and other things that we induce. We know how to set up our rail so that we have enough gap that doesn't become a problem. But in the process, what we're doing is we're stretching out our focus stack into long spans of minutes, during which our subjects will move, legs contract, buds wilt. I mean, all of these things happen. The longer we're on the under the lights, the longer we're shooting the stack, the more chance there is for the subject to move, and that is definitely going to cause problems. All right, so where were we? Number 42. What insect order includes damselflies? That's not a trick question. 2 points if you get it right. You don't get any points if you come up with any other name, because it's an actual name. It's Odonata. There you go, 2 points for that. Many beetles have a hardened forewing that forms a protective shell on their back. What is that thing called? Or what are those things called? You know, they have that hard shell, and then underneath they have wings that they fold out. What's the outer part called? Got it? Elytra. 2 points for an elytra. Yeah. No points for anything else beginning with E. 44. When photographing live insects, I don't know if you know this one, but gently exhaling near the insects, if you breathe on the insects, what does that do to them? Apparently it makes them stay still. I've read this for years, and I've never actually witnessed it happen. The one time I tried to do it, an insect flew in my mouth. Well, it was a grasshopper. I guess it technically jumped in my mouth. But yeah, I don't recommend it, but some people do. Breathing on it probably paralyzes them because of the halitosis, but I don't know that for a fact. So I'll tell you what, give yourself 2 points for number 44 for dumb question. 45. When working at 5x and above, what is the single most effective diffuser shape if you're looking for a completely soft, shadowless type of lighting, and you're using a microscope objective. Shockingly bad question. Yeah, it's really any kind of dome or tunnel diffuser. It's anything that surrounds the subject. I use a tunnel. Lots of people use domes or half ping pong balls, that type of thing. They're all good because they basically create a wall of light without really any shadowing. It's just not a good question. Give yourself 2 points. All right, 46. Insects show all kinds of colors, but the vivid blues and greens that you see in some metallic beetles, they come primarily from what? I mean, these blues and greens are not commonly pigment related. What are they? What is the mechanism that causes these colors to appear in some metallic beetles, like ash borers? It's called structural color, and it's kind of a grab-all. We've been referring to several different types of structural color earlier, but it's if you could write down any kind of structural color, and I'd accept that. 47. When focus stacking using a rail, it's usually recommended to avoid even the tiniest lateral movements of the camera or the subject. Why? What are you trying to minimize? What happens if you do move the camera or the subject a little bit left or right as you're going through the stack? It creates a phenomenon called parallax, and parallax is where the outline of the subject changes as you move your perspective, and it makes it impossible for a focus stacking software program to accurately stack the images because the outline is changing. They don't know how to align them, and it ends up that the program has to make guesses about what goes where, and it leads to all kinds of artifacts. So that's why you avoid it. Number 48. The term for the distance between an infinity corrected microscope objective and the tube lens. Okay, you with me here? You've got your objective and your tube lens, and there's a distance in between the two. What is it called? 2 points. 2 words. So you get 1 point for each word if you get it right. It's the infinity space, right? It's the space in which the light is pretty close to a bunch of parallel rays coming out of the back of the objective. And that's important because it means you can put other stuff in there. You can put beam splitters and fluorescent cubes and all that type of thing in there to augment your visualization of the subject without changing the quality of the image. So that's what an infinity corrected microscope is. It's the infinity space. 2 points. Number 49, 2 more questions. The number one reason high magnification images look blurry, even when you stack them perfectly, is what? What's the number one bane of the high magnification photographer? Well, not a very good question, because there are several things that could conceivably compete with it, but it's almost always vibration. When you get up to magnifications that would be called high, 20, 50, 100, magnification is the thing that is going to get you, vibration is the thing that's going to get you in the most trouble, because it's often very, very hard to diagnose and just about impossible to treat. You have to sometimes go to extraordinary lengths to get rid of that last little bit of sympathetic vibration from the environment. Lastly, 50, number 50. You can all have 4 points if you get this right. When all the gear, the technique, the optics are all dialed in, when you've got them absolutely figured out, which would be you experts, what is the true secret to great macro photography? What does it truly take? What is the missing ingredient? If it's not optics or technique or equipment, what is it? 4 points if you get it right. If you're a beginner and get it right, I'll give you 40 points. Patience. Patience. Not patience as in sick people. Patience as in taking your time and looking and thinking about what you're doing. Patience in this business is everything. As you had to be patient with me today while I did this. I'm glad I did though, because it was a lot of fun. I had fun. I didn't have to study too much, which gave me a couple of easier days this week, which was nice. And we've got only a few minutes left, but I want to see what everybody scored. So you need to put your scores down, folks. Let me see. Everybody's been yeah, some good answers there. But you see, seeing as you're scoring your own, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what you got as your answers. You know if they were good or not. Let me see. Robert's here. Art's here. Demetrius is here. Julie. Arctic Penguin. Me, apparently. I'm here. Yes. Roy. Donald. Greetings, Donald. And let me see. David. I think I said hi to David earlier. I probably did not and forgot. But Klaus is here. Greetings, Klaus. And Graham, I'm going to get in touch with you this afternoon. I have a couple of lessons after this, but then I will shoot you an email. Sorry about not getting to that yet. Let me see. Let's see what everybody scored. Julie scored 28. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a minute. Maybe if you came in the last 28 minutes, you would have scored 28. Art got 8. Art, are you in the right? Are you at the right podcast thing? All right. Let me see. I don't believe. You know, guys, you can have whatever scores you want. People are going to believe you. You are the most believable, the most credible group of people I have ever known. You could absolutely tell me anything. Diane got 44 points. There you go. Ingolf. Ingolf didn't change his clocks back. We did a warning about that the other day, but maybe Ingolf wasn't there. Ingolf, yes, your clocks changed last week. Ours changed this weekend. So I think we go back to normal on Monday or Sunday. But for today, yes, we're an hour ahead of you. Sorry about that. I keep forgetting that there's that 1 hour difference, and it keeps moving. Every year it gets later and later. It used to be back in August, I think, that we had that hour's difference between us. But anyway, sorry you missed it, Ingolf. It was a lot of fun. You'd have done well on it, I'm sure. Arctic Penguin, 45 points. Okay, Mr. Berg, Orjan. What an interesting name, sir. I like that name, and I don't recognize it, so welcome if this is your first time to visit. You're a beginner, and you got patience, so that's 40 points for that, and whatever else you got. So I think you're our winner so far. Way to go. Donald, novice, beginner, 42. Not into insects, where you see, that was the thing. I am, so when I was sitting around trying to think of questions, my mind kept going to insects, so I do apologize for that. What we'll do is, next time we do this in 6 months or whatever, I'll do no insects. Yeah, I get asked to do that. You're into micro minerals and micro fossils. Donald, you need to talk to, well, actually we've got several people who are into that. Art's into that. And Art does micro meteors as well, so definitely you should talk to him. I'm trying to think who else. God, gosh, I'm blanking on the other. There is somebody else. Susan Seaford is one of our mineral photographers. So, and she's often in here. So there you go. There are plenty of people who do that. Photography for just me. Well, you get 40 points for being an astrophotographer. So you're tied for first place too. Excellent. Okay, Mr. Berg is a micrometeorite photographer, so that will be you're going to find a lot of folks around here who share your interest. I'm beginning to wonder if I shouldn't do a separate live stream on that very subject. I won't, because I don't know anything about it, but then again, didn't know anything about crystals, and that's fun. So there you go. It is 3 o'clock or close to it. I have a dog crying upstairs to go outside to the toilet. Which is a bad situation for the dog. So I'm going to go take care of that and leave 1 minute early today. And thank you very much for coming. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. I appreciate you putting up with me today. And I will see you either in Afterstack on Saturday, or I'll see you next week when the clocks go back and I'll be depressed. So come cheer me up next week. Take care, everybody.